Okay, so I've made some adjustments compared to last time. The car is not nearly as loud, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me a bit better. You also hear me gasping fair because I'm a fat shit, and I'm sorry about that. So, Watkins Glen. This should be a lot shorter of a video. So this is going to be a 133.7, and this is running at a track temp of 26 Celsius, or my apologies, air temp of 26 Celsius, and then track temp of 47 Celsius. You do the conversions, you American fucks. I'm not doing it. All right. So we're going to do an onboard lap, and then we will do the commentary. So here we go. There we go, if I could pause the freaking replay. Alright, so we're going to go back on 4, going into 5, just make sure this was, yep, alright, cool. So, Watkins Glen, a little different from last year because they had the rescan, so let's walk through it. So, going into turn 1 here is going to be quite simple here. We're just going to go a few frames. And right as this 200 board is about to disappear from my A-pillar, which is the front of the car support beam if you don't know, I start to brake. You can brake a little later. It all depends on the setup. It's a little warm in this session, so I'm braking a little earlier here just to make sure I get into the corner in an efficient manner. So we're braking, and my goal is to get into second gear for this turn. You can maybe do it in third. I prefer second for a slightly quicker exit. So on apex, what I like to do is try to ignore the curb that's up here. So there's two parts of this curb. There's the flat curb that's flush with the track, and then there's the bigger curb that you want to stay away from in the prototypes. GT cars, you can tag it and get away with it just because of the bit higher ride height. Prototypes, you don't want to hit it because you can cause floor damage, and it just makes the car bounce, and you lose a shit ton of speed. So you want to stay away from that as much as you can. So as we're going through the corner here, get a little closer, but nothing too bad. And then on exit here, is actually quite unique because you'll actually get to the curb that I said to stay away from. So on exit here, there's two parts of this curb. We're going to try to go to a chase cam here, see if we can make that a bit. So there's two parts of this curb. So the less rubbered in part here on the left is, once again, a raised curb. So you can put your left side tires on the curb. As long as you do not have more than half your car on this curb, then you will not essentially straddle the curb and killing speed in the car and causing floor damage. If you do not feel comfortable with this, just go ahead, put the left side tires on the more rubbered in part of the curb. That's fine. Trying to drive over it onto the runoff, you get an off track. With the old track, you used to be able to just throw the car over there. With the new version of the track, they're a lot more stingy with track limits, at least in this corner. So just try to just mount the curb like this, or just try to stay to the right of it. So cockpit here. I like to straddle it all the way down, personally. If you want to pull a little bit off to the right and get off of it, that's for you to decide. So, turning in here, so I like to keep the car in fourth gear, and I'll show you the access road where I like to shift up into fifth. So, fourth gear, and we're just going to turn it in. Nice and easy. So, there's a little side road here, and right before the front of my dash is about to hit this little side road here, I like to shift up into fifth. Sometimes I'm a little closer to the side road and I shift up into fifth. It really all depends on how turn one goes, how much speed I'm carrying, and that's the main differentiator between where you're going to shift for fifth gear here. But ideally, when your windshield hits that access road here to the right before the United Rentals sign, that is when you want to shift up. So you're going up. So up here, uh, ideally you want to stay off the curbs. It's no big deal if you hit the first one here because it's more flush with the track. So you can get away with it. Ideally, you should stay off of it. Second part here. This curb here on the left, you can tag a little bit, but ideally you want to stay off of it. Reason for that is just because if you take too much of it, the car will bounce and you will lose speed, and it can unsettle the car, maybe send it spinning, and make you a little unpredictable to cars behind you. Same as this one, you want to stay off of it. You can tag it a little bit, just you want to try to reduce it as much as possible. So, for up here, this one's unique. So for the bus stop, there's 6 braking markers. So everywhere from 600 to 100. So we do not brake yet. And what's unique about this corner is there's a white line here in the road. And if you see that white line, it's right in front of my dash here. And that spans all the way across the track. And essentially, what I try to do is, well, that's the wrong cam, is I try to start braking once I think that the back of my car is past that line. That's just experience with the track. I wouldn't blame you if you try to use a different braking marker. It's like a good brake marker for me instead would be, say, right once this orange part of this Armco barrier here on the left disappears, just like the first chicane at the Mulsanne Straight in Le Mans, you could also do something like that. So you go ahead, brake in here. I had to go into fourth gear here. So unlike old Watkins Glen, you can actually abuse the shit out of these curbs. The car doesn't seem to like it very much sound-wise, but from what I've noticed is that as long as you're not ramping over the thing like it's a stadium truck, it's not the end of the world. So here's how much curb I'm taking through the corner. We'll actually go back a few frames just to show it. So we're getting a good amount of curb. Nothing too much to where we're going to be jumping it. The fastest guys jump it, but I've always been paranoid about floor damage, especially over 6 hours. I just don't think it's worth it. And then here, same story. We're already trying to turn left here to counter the slide and just prepare for the next part of the bus stop. So on this part of the chicane, just go to a far chase here. Go a few frames back. You can see that transition here. And try to grab about this much curb. So you can grab almost the entire curb, but not enough to, like I said before, where you jump it. So, as stated before, I'm already trying to do counter steering off to the left here. And if I need to, if I take a little too much speed into the bus stop, just tap the brake a little bit. You shouldn't be fully on the brakes, just a little brake drag to get you around there wouldn't be the end of the world. So coming through the corner here, you're going to be fighting a little bit of bouncing. And then same as before here, we're going to go to a far chase. As we go over the corner, getting a good amount of curb. Good amount. You paid for the track, you may as well use it, right? So you're coming across here. Your RPMs are going to build up a little bit just because you're in the air. And then this curb as well. You're going to grab a good amount of it. Go to a far chase here. We'll go back a few frames. Just good amount of curb. This one I try not to grab nearly as much of, just because at the end here I'm trying to unsettle the car as little as possible, just so I can get set up for the carousel. So leading up to here, we're in fourth gear, and we're going to stay in fourth gear here. So what I should have done here, I will admit, is I should try to get over a little bit more to the left. So we're going to go to a camera angle here real quick and try to make a better view. See if we can bring that down. Nope, not that way. There we go. So I ideally could have went a little bit more left here. There's about a car length. If you can get a better exit where you try to straight line it and then turn in near closer to this grass, that'd be ideal. So turn in is once I feel like I'm far enough over to the left is when I start turning. So I'm keeping it in fourth through here. And initially you do not want to get as close to the curb as possible because you're trying to do a little bit later of an apex, so you don't apex too early and you end up flying off the track because of such. So I'm braking a little bit here. I'm just trying to trail brake to make sure I'm getting the car as close to the curb as I can, and then I'm mashing the gas. And we'll go to a chase cam real quick just to show you I'm on the curb. You can get on this curb as much as you want, just be mindful about that grass. It is flush to the track, so you don't have to worry about floor damage or anything like that. So you're coming through here. So up here, this is new, I believe, to the rescan, is this curb over here to the left. So when you come across it, so let's say you're on the little piece of pavement on the left side of it, you do not get an off track. But when you come across, you do get some floor damage. It's nothing much. It makes the floor chunk a little bit, and I think you actually do get a little bit of optional repair. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So what I try to do is try to stay on the right side of it. The only time I go on the left side of that is if I'm passing a GT car and I need that little bit of extra room to get around them. Because sometimes you're going on the inside, sometimes you're going around the outside here. It all depends on how the GT's acting here. So I'll corner exit, getting a good amount of curb, but we're not fully mounting it. We'll go to a far chase, getting a good amount of curb. And these are just rumble strips. This is not like turn 1 where it has the big scary chunky curb. These are just rumble strips. And then you want to get back over as soon as possible. You can clip a little bit of grass here. You kind of get a handful of it, and you start getting off tracks, but I didn't here. Ignore the car contact. That's a story for another time. But I did not get an off track here. So apparently you can get a good amount of it before they actually penalize you for it. So here, I like to get it into 5th. And then my braking zone, I'll admit, I kind of guesstimate here. I need to get better about this corner. But a good braking marker for here would maybe be, so let's see where we start braking. So about here. So a good braking marker could be here on the right. There's an Armco barrier where it shrinks down, or from 4 to 3. And where I start braking is actually right where my windshield wiper covers that little transition area. That would be a good braking marker. I'm bad about it. I don't have a braking marker there. You really should try to find one, though, if possible. And then on this corner, you're trying to be over to the right as far as possible. And I end up getting, I feel, as comfortably as I can to that corner. So we're downshifting here. Depending on the setup, you can take this in 3rd or 2nd. Personally, I prefer 2nd. I just feel like I can get a little bit more speed out of the corner. So we're turning in. Let's go ahead and take that at 1/4 speed. So we're still downshifting. We're trail braking, we're downshifting. So we get in 2nd gear here. And we're just trying to get inside here. So this is going to be a late apex corner. And the reason for that is just because this is a bit of a longer corner. And like the last corner, you don't want to apex too early and send yourself flying or lose a bunch of speed because you realize, oh crap, I turned in too early. So you're still turning in here. You can grab a little bit of curb, no big deal. I didn't on this lap. And then we go and corner exit. We're already on the gas. You can take a little bit of extra curb if you want. I didn't feel like I needed it here. You can put all 4 tires on that bad boy and we'll give you 4 damage. So we're going down the straight here. And then this corner, since it's uphill, means that you can brake a little later compared to downhill. So I try to use that to my advantage by braking as late as I feel I comfortably can. So I start braking about here. So a good braking marker would be maybe the 200 board. Once it goes out of view, start braking. Personally, when I start braking, the 200 board shows up on my left side monitor right above my mirror, so that may be something good for you. If you have triples, or depending on your FOV, it may be a little bit of a different story for you. So you're braking, and ideally, this is another late apex boy. So 2nd gear, and this is a late apex, but you're also hugging the right side more here, and you're just hugging that right, and you're in 2nd gear. And as soon as you feel like you can, you want to be back on the gas, because if you look, I'm trying to maintain speed through here the entire time. So I in my trail braking right here, and I'm started going on the gas again. And I'm modulating. You see, I'm not full throttle yet. I'm just trying to modulate it, trying to carry as much speed as I can, but I'm not flooring it, because if you floor it too early here, you could spin the car. So you're trying to wait until you're on a good surface to start accelerating. And as you see here, I'm fully accelerating. So As you can see, I'm running out of track, but huzzah, there's some runoff here for whatever reason. Thanks, Watkins Glen. And as you can see here, I'm getting my money's worth out of it. Shout out to Meyer Shank for the dank livery. And you're going to use the entire width of it, if you can. If you use even some of it, you're doing a lot better using some of it than you are none of it. Come down here. This corner. It's a little downhill, so you got to brake a little earlier. It's not too much downhill, so it's not going to screw you completely, but it's going to be enough to the point where you're going to feel it. So you pass the 200 board here. So basically, I guess in the middle of the 100 and 200 where essentially I would imagine where like 150 board would be, if that was a thing, and I would start braking there. And as you can see, I'm on the leftmost side of the track, and you're going to start braking. Second gear. Well, fuck me. Alright. Let me get back to that real quick. I am very sorry about that. Spoilers for the rest of the lap. So, you just trail braking into the corner. Just trying to get that car rotated. And you can get a little bit of this curb. This one is flush to the track, but it's a little raised at the end of it, so just be a little weary of that. It doesn't throw the car around or anything, but it's just something to keep a note of. And then on corner exit here, there's no track limits compared to turn 1. So you can throw this car as wide as you want to. So ideally what I like doing on this line is not really using it too early, but on corner exit, just trying to straight line a little bit, try to put the power down. So you can see I'm getting that power down, and then I'm coming right back over so I don't get that off track. So the McLaren doesn't really play much of a factor here, but I will explain this corner here in a second. So here, I really don't have a good braking marker. It's essentially once I get the car over to the right, I start braking. I would try to find a good braking marker. Something would be maybe the windshield wiper against the NASCAR Cup Series sign up here. Why it's facing this way, even though they use the different layout, whatever. But it's there, so you may as well use it, right? So start braking. And what I like to do is take this corner in low second gear and just trail brake around the corner. This is a bit of a tricky corner because it's a little bit off camber, just because it's rejoining with the Cup Series layout, and it's not a very fast corner in general. So it's a lot better than the old version of the track, but it's still a little sketchy. But here, I did go into first gear just to get around this McLaren because I didn't realize he was letting me by. So I did go into first here. But the line would be the same second or first gear. So you're just coming in, a bit of a late apex, and you're just trying to get as close to that curb as possible. And then our McLaren friend here is on the right. It's clear, McLaren friend. I do go a little narrow here just to dodge that McLaren, but you can go over here to the right. Just be wary about clipping the grass or going into the wall. For here, here's a pretty easy corner in the P2. GT, you got to think about it a little bit more, but you don't lift here, at least for me. You can maybe tap the brake a little bit, but personally, I don't like tapping the brake here, and I try to take this as flat when I can. When it's really hot, so what's the track temp now? It's 47 Celsius. Even in 47 Celsius track temp, you're able to take this flat. So most of the race, you should be able to take this flat. So we're coming in here, fourth gear. We turn in, and we get our money's worth out of that curb. We're taking the entire thing. We come across here. So this is not an off track. Where the off track begins and where it ends is beyond me. But you can put a whole car wing. See here. How big is this gap? This is a car width and a half. And this is still not an off track. I'm assuming like there's a little bit of discoloration here. I think once you're outside of this discoloration, it's very hard to notice. But if you can see it, essentially, if you look at the right front tire, and straight ahead, it's slightly lighter and then slightly darker. The slightly darker part, I think, is where the off track is. I could be mistaken by that. It's really confusing. They don't clarify it in the rules, so that's beyond me. This is surprisingly not an off track, though. So, fourth gear. You could go into fifth here. Cooler temperatures where you can take this last corner a little bit faster. I could see it taking in fifth, and then you take this last corner in fourth. But since this is hotter, I like to take it in third. So, you're just trying to essentially get the car over as fast as you can. You're trying to mitigate doing much curb jumping here, but you can do a little bit like this and get away with it, but you're just trying not to. Again, pretend like it's a stadium truck and jumping in. So just getting over here to the left, as we can see, over to the left, I even can get over a little bit more. And then I'm immediately on the brakes. So I'm even on the brakes while I'm still working my way left. I start braking right about here. I'm still halfway in the track and I'm still just braking and moving left. So I get into third gear, clip a little bit of this curb. Actually, do I clip it on this lap? I do, just barely. Personally, I don't like hitting this curb too much because it unsettles the car enough for me where it makes me a little uncomfortable. But it doesn't hurt if you just give it a little smooch, but just, you know, don't hug it like it's your mama because it could maybe throw you off the track, right? So we go back into cockpit, third gear, flat, and flat here. So as you can see, how close did I get to the wall here? So that's what's nice about this corner now, is I don't know, honestly I can't remember with the old track, but you're able to get, it seems like, a lot closer to the wall here. So as you can see, full car width off, it never gives you an off track here. The only time it would give you an off track is if you clip that grass up ahead. What's also nice about this corner is if you give a little love tap to the wall here, as long as you don't smash into it, there's no damage in the P2. GT, I think that's another story, but hey, that's not our problem. So, we'll just play one more time here. As you can see, I'm flat. Let's see here. So essentially, once I know I hit the apex, I know and I can make the corner, I'm flat. I mash the gas, shifting up, and there you go. So that's a lap at Watkins Glen. So, yeah, do with that information as you wish. So, 6 hours of that. So, you have fun with that.